Welcome to On Spot, where we keep you up to date with the latest news, starting with the headlines. Abuna Mityas to be elected as the new Patriarch of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. President Obama signs order activating deep spending cuts. The arrest of dozens of Egyptian Christians in Libya charged with proselytization. Extremism actions against Copts in many places in Egypt. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church has elected a new leader 6 months after the death of the previous patriarch. Abuna Mityas, 71 years old, is going to be enthroned in the Ethiopian capital, Addis Ababa, today, Sunday, in the presence of a member of bishops who represents the Coptic Orthodox Church in Egypt.
Abuna Mityas, the new patriarch for the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, was elected by 500 votes out of 806 cast of members of the church synod living in Ethiopia and elsewhere. Abuna Mityas was born in 1940 in Tigray region. He attained basic literacy in the traditional schooling service of the church under Kisses Wildgrima. He was ordained as a deacon in 1955, European calendar by Abuna Marcos, the Archbishop of Eritrea province at that time. Following that, he started serving in several capacities at the Kohi Monastery, Tenban, Auraja, Tigray region, where he stayed for most of the subsequent 14 years. In 1962, he was ordained as a monk. He served in the Holy Trinity Cathedral at Addis Ababa from 1971 to 1975, assuming various roles. He was ordained as the Episcopus in 1978, and he currently is the Archbishop of the Church Monastery in Jerusalem. He has lived abroad for more than 30 years, first going into the exile after the military coup led by Mengistu Haile Mariam in 1974. Abuna Mityas will lead Ethiopia's 40 million Orthodox Christians, which represent more than half the population. His predecessor, Abuna Poulos, was chosen to lead the church in 1992, a year after the overthrow of Mengistu's communist government. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church used to be part of Egypt's Coptic Orthodox Christian Church, but got its own patriarch in 1959. Abuna Mityas will be its 6th patriarch to lead it. Tens of thousands of people are expected to attend his enthronement ceremony on Sunday following his election on Thursday. Tamer Abid, On Spot.
Going to the issue that preoccupies many of Americans, which is the U.S. budget cuts. Politics trumped progress on Friday as President Barack Obama and Republican leaders traded blame for $85 billion in forced spending cuts after they failed to come up with a compromise to avert the harshest impacts. The president signed an order required by law that set in motion the automatic government-wide cuts. Obama and congressional leaders from both parties met for about 45 minutes at the White House, but no agreement emerged to avert the cuts that both sides oppose.
As you know, I just met with the leaders of both parties to discuss a way forward in light of the severe budget cuts that start to take effect today. I told them these cuts will hurt our economy, they'll cost us jobs, and to set it right, both sides need to be willing to compromise. Now, the good news is the American people are strong and they're resilient. They fought hard to recover from the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression, and we will get through this as well. Even with these cuts in place, folks all across this country will work hard to make sure that we keep the recovery going. It's happening because a choice that Republicans in Congress have made. They've allowed these cuts to happen because they refuse to budge on closing a single wasteful loophole to help reduce the deficit.
About half the cuts will come from the defense budget. Defense officials say 800,000 civilian employees will have their working week reduced. They say that we'll also have to scale back flight hours for war plans and postpone some equipment maintenance.
Not everyone will feel the pain of these cuts right away. The pain, though, will be real. Beginning this week, many middle-class families will have their lives disrupted in significant ways. Businesses that work with the military, like the Virginia shipbuilder that I visited on Tuesday, may have to lay folks off. Communities near military bases will take a serious blow. Hundreds of thousands of Americans who serve their country, Border Patrol agents, FBI agents, civilians who work at the Pentagon, all will suffer significant pay cuts and furloughs. I do know that there are Republicans in Congress who, privately at least, say that they would rather close tax loopholes than let these cuts go through. I know that there are Democrats who'd rather do smart entitlement reform than let these cuts go through. So there is a caucus of common sense up on Capitol Hill. It's a silent group right now, and we want to make sure that their voices start getting heard. In the coming days and coming weeks, I'm going to keep on reaching out to them, both individually and as groups of senators or members of the House, and say to them, let's fix this. Not just for a month or two, but for years to come, because the greatest nation on earth does not conduct its business in month-to-month increments or by careening from crisis to crisis, and America's got a lot more work to do.
A sad, weird incident happened in Florida where a man has disappeared into a 20-foot deep, 6-meter sinkhole that swallowed up a bedroom in his house. Jeffrey Bush, 36 years old, is presumed that after rescue crews failed to make contact with him. Officials in the town near Tampa have postponed further rescue efforts until they determine how much of the ground under the house is compromised. Sinkholes are common in certain parts of Florida. Hillsborough County's fire chief said that. Chief Ron Rogers said that Florida essentially sits on a system of caverns. Water erosion in the caverns causes them to collapse and sinkholes to form on the surface. The sinkhole is currently 30 feet wide and 20 feet deep, but officials have established a 100-wide safety zone, fearing the top of the sinkhole is growing.
I heard a noise, and then when I ran in there and jumped in the hole, and I was screaming his name, I could swear I heard him hollering my name to help him. And it was nothing like too cool.
Turning to Egyptian Christian situation, over 100 Egyptian Christians were arrested last Wednesday by the Libyan authorities under charges of proselytizing because they found a number of Christians' books and pictures in their house and workplaces. A YouTube video showed the group of Copts arrested in a room after their heads were shaved and their hands were burnt. Recently, Libyan authorities have made a number of arrests, including that of 4 foreigners under accusations of proselytization. It is against the law in Libya to proselytize and any faith other than Islam. And from the Egyptian side, the Egyptian Foreign Ministry called the Libyan counterpart to discuss potential solutions for the detained Egyptian Copts in Libya. All the Libyan ministers expressed his frustration over the situation, describing it as unacceptable. He also clarified that concerned authorities have held a meeting forming a crisis committee and an investigate committee would be formed, and they promised the Libyan authorities would pursue the issue with interest. And back to Egypt, as a continuation of extremism actions are still there. A number of Salafists rallied in front of a services building owned by St. Mark Church in the Diocese of Shubra al-Khima to protest a wall being built between the church and the building. His Grace, Bishop Marcus, told MCN Mideast Christian News that the building was established for a long time, adding that they obtained the required license in this regard. He said that the church wanted to build a wall between the church and the building, while the local authority of the city asked them to demolish the wall and then obtain a license to rebuild it. And to southern Egypt, where a group of Muslim extremists were gathering in front of St. George Coptic Church at Komombo in Aswan Governorate over the disappearance of a Muslim woman. Rumors being circulated say the missing woman is being held inside the church. Cars of Copts in front of the church have been destroyed. A number of Christians rallied to protect the church, which led to clashes between the two sides. And concerning the political situation in Egypt, it is getting worse in Mansoura Governorate, north of Cairo, after continuous clashes between protesters and security forces. Also, the residence of the Liberal Civil Front was attacked and was burned by the security forces that arrested its entire members who were there. In Port Said, the civil disobedience is ongoing for the second week without any official reaction from the government side, till the situation was escalated from the demonstrators to announce mandating Egyptian Defense Minister Abdel Fattah el-Sisi to be President of the Republic of Port Said. The demonstrators in Port Said also began collecting signatures to allow Egyptian military rule in the country, excluding the Brotherhood from Port Said and other governorates. Going to Christians in Iraq, Archbishop Mar Yohanna Boutros Moushi of Mosul for Syriac Catholics said that the reasons for the migration of Iraqi Christians include their exposure to harassment by many bodies, security instability, and a lack of job opportunities. He also said in their meetings with organizations and relevant agencies, they always call for providing employment opportunities for our youth. They also encourage investment projects by Christian businessmen from inside and outside Iraq in areas with a Christian majority to help Christians stay in their homeland. To the Roman Catholic Church that waits for the new Pope, as Pope Benedict has officially stepped down as the Roman Catholic Pope on February 28 to become Pope Emeritus. The papal conclave will have to convene in mid-March to elect the new spiritual leader of the world's largest Christian denomination. The new Pope will be chosen during the conclave, the secret selection by 115 cardinal electors who are continuing to make their way to Rome, with some likely to arrive only Monday or Tuesday. More details are in the following report.
When night was falling Thursday over Vatican City, there was no Pope in residence. Pope Benedict XVI officially left his position Thursday, 28th of February, after nearly 8 tumultuous years at the head of the world's 1.2 billion Catholics, while the Catholic Church awaits the elections of his successor. The conclave will be conducted in the Vatican's Sistine Chapel under the magnificent Michelangelo Last Judgment ceiling. Among the current leading papabili, or the front-turners for the papacy, 2 are Italians and 1 is African. Cardinal Angelo Scola, 71 years old, he is the current Archbishop of Milan and former Patriarch of Venice, and he is the most prominent Italian candidate. Referred to as the Crown Prince of Catholicism by Catholic newspaper, Scola is known to be a conservative close to Pope Benedict, who he strongly defended during sex abuse allegations against the Church in 2010. Founder of Oasis, a magazine destined to Christians of all denominations in majority Muslim nations, Cardinal Scola has supported increasing ties with Muslim majority nations and increasing the Church's role in the Middle East. Despite all these qualifications, his relatively advanced age may stand against him. The second Italian candidate is Cardinal Tarcisio Bertone. He is both the administrator of the property and revenues of the Holy See. As the Vatican Secretary of State, Bertone is also in charge of diplomatic and political affairs of the Vatican. This dual position has made Cardinal Bertone the second most powerful official in the Vatican beside Pope Benedict XVI. Bertone is known for supporting universal and free access drugs to combat HIV and opposing abortion on the grounds of protecting the dignity of women. The third candidate is Cardinal Peter Turkson of Ghana, the current president of Pontifical Council for Justice and Peace, and the second most powerful Catholic official in Africa. During the global financial debacle of 2007 and 2008, Cardinal Turkson strongly criticized the banks and proposed reforms to the international financial system to avoid the repetition of the crisis. As nearly as nearly 6 million of the 15 million new church members come from Africa, the election of Turkson would be an acknowledgement of growth of the church in Africa. If elected, Turkson would be the first black pope, but not the first African pope. 3 popes of supposed African origin, Saint Victor from 186 to 198, Saint Miltiades 311 to 314, and Saint Gelasius 492 to 496 came from North Africa, then a province of the Roman Empire. Regardless of who is elected, the new pope will have to deal with multiple serious issues, ranging from sexual abuse, scandals, the role of women in church, and the promotion of the traditional Latin liturgy. Tamer Abid, On Spot.
Marching, dancing, and poster-waving environmentalists chanting, "Hey Obama, we don't want no climate drama," packed several blocks on and around Washington's National Mall on Sunday, hoping to spur President Barack Obama to take strong measures against the climate change. Throngs at the Forward on Climate rally spent several hours marching from the Washington Monument to the White House, then back to the mall. Those who arrived early and those who didn't let the cold dissuade from returning to the mall heard speakers call on the president to reject the Keystone XL pipeline and to tell the Environmental Protection Agency to set carbon standards for power plants. During Obama's State of the Union speech on Tuesday, the president urged Congress to do more to combat climate change.
I urge this Congress to get together, pursue a bipartisan market-based solution to climate change, like the one John McCain and Joe Lieberman worked on together a few years ago. But if Congress won't act soon to protect future generations, I will. I will direct my cabinet to come up with executive actions we can take now and in the future to reduce pollution, prepare our communities for the consequences of climate change, and speed the transition to more sustainable sources of energy.
Going to some light news. Chimpanzees enjoy trying to solve the brain teasers according to research done at Bedfordshires Whipsnade Zoo. Scientists set up a game for 6 chimps that involved moving red dice through pipes until they fell into a container. The same task was also carried out using Brazil nuts instead of dice, so that success led to a treat. However, the Zoological Society of London found the apes enjoy getting stuck into a puzzle with or without the opportunity to win a prize. The chimpanzees, all members of an adult family group at the zoo, had to put the sticks in holes into the pipes to change the direction of the dice and to get them to fall in the right place. Scientists say babies depict speech as early as 3 months before birth. The evidence comes from detailed brain scans of 12 infants born at just 28 weeks gestation. The babies appear to discriminate between different syllables like ga and ba, as well as male and female voices. The research lends support to the idea that babies develop language skills while still in the womb in response to their parents' voice. Experts already know that the babies are able to hear noises in the womb. The ear and the auditory part of the brain that allow these are formed by around 23 weeks gestation. But it is still debated whether humans are born with an intimate ability to process speech or whether this is something acquired through learning after birth. That's for all today. Wish for all of you the best, stay tuned, and see you next week.